Welcome back everyone to our day 6 for our Java training. Previous session we did a Q&A. So we did look at how you're progressing on your scripts, on your practice, and also be able to assist on any technical issues that you're facing. So today team, I'm going to start something afresh. There are a lot of topics we will cover, but rather than trying to look at them as concepts, let's look at them. Why do we need a certain aspect in programming? Where do we apply an if statement or a for loop so far? And whatever we're going to learn now. So to do this, I'll take a simple banking application team. When I say bank, we're just simulating a banking app. So when I say simulate, not a real, there's no real money transfer that's happening, but we're kind of simulating it. Most important is, team, we need to understand the flow of our application. How does a user, rather an end user, use the application? So many words of use coming in. At the end of it, team, it is a lot to do with user interface and also user experience. All right. So we're going to get into this. Any question, please, on this so far? We just got started. Yes, Mona. And as I go through this requirement, we will go back and review what we did till previous sessions. So this becomes a key aspect for success of any upcoming applications, where the end user is able to comfortably have a good experience on it. So for our banking app, let's give it kind of a name, and I'll say any good names that you'll suggest, please let me know, we'll put it. Now, what is it the flow of the user? The first thing the user wants to do is log in. Then the user may want to do a check balance and then maybe transfer some funds and then check balance again. Okay, very simple everyday transactions that we kind of do in an ATM or at a banking center. All right. Now, how do we make this happen, team? So before we get into coding, what is important to do a little whiteboard drawing. And Bank of America, Bank of America is already there. Let's give our own good name. Any other name suggested, please? So whiteboard drawing becomes important, everyone. And it kind of tells us the flow and how we want things to happen. So we wrote down a few things. We'll kind of go through it. So we have to perform a user login. We have to check the balance of the user. We have to transfer balance and again check balance. Okay, so that's our activity. Now, how do we enable a user to log in? Can anyone suggest? What information would you require to provide to log in? New bank. I'm still looking at the collection of replies coming from all of you on the name of the bank and also what input should be sent for a user to log in. Correct. IT bank, Java bank. We'll call it Java bank. I'm good with it. Okay. And so bank app, we'll call it as a Java bank. Just a name. So yes, we need a username or a user email and a user password. That's minimal for that. Correct, everyone? So see, automatically you're trying to understand what data is needed when. When we will decide, but let's kind of put a blueprint to it. Now, next one. So to check the balance, what happens? Actually, let me undo, team, if I can, on this and draw the arrows the other way. So I need to put a username to it. I need to also give a user password to it. Now, when I check a balance, what is it that you will get back on the screen at an ATM or at the bank? You will get the available balance, everyone? Yes. And when you want to transfer balance, what do you need to do? So we're keeping things simple. Before we go into programming, we want to understand the logic. So then for transfer balance, what do you need, everyone? Come on, guys, faster. You need to send inputs of who you want to send and also the transfer amount, correct? And again, check balance will give me my new available balance. Perfect. Is that the right flow, everyone? At least makes sense. Now let's go create this project and make it happen through our Java program. So I'm going to go to Eclipse. We were doing plenty of code, but pretty much simple team. So go back and look at it if you missed anything. We were playing around a lot. Whatever we used to build, we'll try and go further now. Can we name a new project if that is fine with all of you? And we'll give it a name called javaBank. Not Java, javaBank. And I'm just gonna hit finish. I don't need a module team. It just further complicates it for now. So we'll don't create it. So I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. So it's going kind of going in alphabetical order. If I don't need any project, I'm gonna minimize it. And lot of open code. Let's close all of it. Now let's open javaBank. You'll have your typical src folder, right click, new Java class. And let's give it a name. So each time what happens, team, I may have a new version of it coming out. The reason being, I may not be able to come out with a perfect version with all the features right away. Let us do it bit by bit. It may take us 2 sessions. Is that fine? Maybe 2, 3 also, you don't know. I'll put a main method and say finish. Delete that unnecessary comment that's here. We don't need it. So I have a very simple looking class, public main, everything. Now team, please remember I don't write my code from here. I don't know if I failed to explain this. Give a lot of importance to the styling of the code. It must be very legible. So we'll give enough indentation so we will know how the code flows. We don't need this. Okay, so what is it that we're doing? javaBank version 1. So in version 1, I just want to do user login. All right. And as we go, we will progress. Now, if I want a user to log in, let us expand that part of the story. Alt F8. This is javaBank. Oh, it went into the project itself. javaBank 1.png. Now, user login. Okay. I am simulating team. So when I mention simulating, we don't have a real verification. So it's very simple. I will have expected username and values and the actual username and values that the application, whoever is running, will do. Okay. Now, this model, what we will build, we will start with for one user, then slowly expand for more users. So that's how we can do it, team. It is not possible for us to build everything at the same time. We need to focus one by one. Why? Because if you face issues, it is very tough for you to keep rolling up and back and forth, figuring out where the issue is. Now, okay, great. So for this user login, we've already decided that I need two information, username and user password. Now this becomes my expected. So I will hard code it. Expected user credentials. Again, team, simulating, you can see it, but when we do programming, we will hide these details. So the user cannot see their password and enter it. Okay. So here I have two strings and I'll say username and user password. We'll keep them short and simple if we can. I'll say username, let us say if it is A, okay, and user password I'm putting as, for this, say $123. Fair enough, everyone? This is what I'm expecting to see. Why did I not add the balance yet? Can someone tell me? Why did I not add the user balance yet? I can add user balance also, right? And maybe I'll say this is int and put like I have $1,500 in the account. Why didn't I do that yet? Step by step. Perfect. Exactly. Thank you so much for that answer. We want to come to it later. Okay. There's no hurry for this. Let's comment this. We're not interested in that. All right. So what are we interested in? Now, here, take input from user. If information correct, then login. Else, don't login. Okay, this is what we will do. Now, how do I collect information from the user? So I will say sysO, oopsie, and say enter user name. Okay, and I'll just use print. Let's experiment how it plays around. And I want the user to enter the username. How do we do it? We've already seen this. So start looking at old code. And if you don't remember, absolutely perfect. Look at your old code and start doing it, team. Type it in. Okay. Yes, we will use our scanner class. So that will help us to scan whatever needed. And the reason we had to import it is because by default Java says I may not require everything. So only when you need something, tell me, I will start importing it and using it. That is what we did. So all that we're doing is we're taking an input, and this will be not an integer. It's going to be just next, abc.next. For integer, I can say dot next int. But for a string, basically abc.next, something like that. All right, so we'll change this. So scanner, mm, you can write it as my keyboard because we're scanning from it. That's just a name that we're giving. We are at liberty to do whatever we want. Now here, I want a string, actual username equals my keyboard dot next. And that should get hopefully my actual username. Now, is it a good time to run our code and test? Sure. So I'll say so username is plus AUN. See, write small pieces of code, save them, write them neatly, run them. Make sure that it seems to be working okay. So here I'll enter K and username is K. So we've captured username from the user. Let us repeat the same, and this time I'm going to do for user, enter user password, blah blah blah, same thing. I don't think I need to use define my keyboard again. I believe I can use the same one. So we're trying that. A user password. What is this A here, team? Let's make this EUN. That will be easier for us. EUP. What is EUN? What is EUP? What is AUN? What is AUP? Everyone, please, I want you to answer in the chat. And this is actually, tick, tick, tick. How many answers did I get? Let me check. Where are my friends here? You're here. That's right. Actual and expected. Is that clear, everyone? So there is an actual side of it and there's an expected side of it. And we want to get that information and see if they're same. Now, look at how we're going to log in, team. So if expected username dot equals actual username, can I say that correct credentials? And this dot equals team, when we compare two numbers, if I said if 2 equals 3, that's fair enough as an if statement. When I'm doing comparison of strings, we use equals as a method. One string dot equals another string. And there's no book for a team where you got to learn all of this upfront, only as and when we need it and use them. And then it'll keep adding to your library of what you know. Okay. Now, is this sufficient? No. If I run this and so what do I enter? Correct username but incorrect password, it'll still log in, and that is not right for us. Let's run this code, what we did with the password once again. We did a few changes. So enter username A, enter password $123. User password is $123. Correct credential. So this is fine. Enter username B. Enter username is B. Enter password $123. Password is $123, but nothing else. So the condition that we need to give here is the usernames have to be the same and the expected user password dot equals. There are two equals that we will use very often, team. Equals and equals ignore case. Ignore case means what? Uppercase, lowercase. Are passwords case sensitive? Yes or no? If you enter your password with upper or lower cases incorrect, will it prevent you? It will prevent. So you should only use dot equals. You cannot use dot equals upper case and so on. So here I'll just say dot equals. And this is the actual user password. If this, okay. So basically the way to read this if statement now is there are two conditions within it and they're combined. For this whole thing to be true, both of them have to be true. Even if one of them is false, it will not expect it to be taken as true. Else, now I'll say CISO incorrect credentials. All right. Now that seems to be a code that may work. Why we've been entering it, bit by bit and trying to get to that. Let's try and run this again. Enter username. If I enter K, incorrect username. What does it expect? A and $123. Okay. And I enter the right password, $123. Incorrect credentials. And I don't want to print out my password again. So let's comment this. Let's run this again with right credentials. See how I'm testing my code? I don't want my code to have failures later. So A and $123, correct credentials. How about username being lowercase a and $123? Can anyone tell me? I did not hit the enter. Will it say correct credentials or incorrect? It will say incorrect, team. And the reason being, we are not looking at the case. Uppercase A and lowercase a will be different. So let me enter and see. Incorrect credential. So let us say if your username and password, you can expect your username alone to have an uppercase, then you say not dot equals, you say dot equals, ignore case in this case. Only for the usernames. Password be strict, but username be a little lenient. Getting the point, everyone? Are you all with me on it? Okay, fantastic. So here's this great simple login program. Now, okay, I entered A and $123. Perfect. Let's enter incorrect credentials. A 123 percentile, incorrect credentials. So rightly set. Now I may be bad at typing. Does your bank, you go to the bank or ATM, and does it give you only one chance to enter the details? Does it give you more than one chance? It may give you multiple times, right? So now I want to create version 2. My version 1 is working fine. Keep that. Don't touch that. Let's make a V2. Oops, I said V3. Let's change this. Right click, refactor, rename this to V2 and say, okay, go to v2.java, make this class name. And here also I'll say V2. And this is good up to 3 login attempts. That's the version 2 what we are doing change. Making sense, team? How we are trying to slowly add? Okay, so let's put 3 times. Now, does the user have to enter username and password 3 times? Correct? To be able to get it? Then what I will do, I don't need this for now. Can I delete this? My code seems to be neat enough, correct? It says what we are doing here. So if you write neat code, you don't need too many comments. So I'll put a for loop. For int, let us start my counter I with 1, semicolon, I is less than or equal to 3. So go up till value of 3 and only increment I by 1 each time. And now this entire code that we put earlier, created from version 1, till this if else, I'm going to cut it, Control X. Go into that for loop, do one indent inside because you're already starting a block. Once you start a block, you want to go deeper in it and paste it. Now look at our code once again before we run it. Version 2, up to 3 login attempts, I equals 1, I is less than or equal to 3, I plus plus. Enter username, username is, enter user password, correct credentials, incorrect credentials. Okay. Now let us see what will happen. Okay, I'll enter incorrect the first time. It won't. Hey, that's nice. It is asking me again to enter the username, which is good. So I'll enter the right details, A, and the password is $123, and that's correct credentials. Isn't that right, everyone? This is incorrect. This is correct. I need this to look better for me. So I'll just put a few like this at the beginning. So in the console output, it will be easy to spot also. But why is it asking me to log in again? See, for example, I will say here, enter credentials. Okay, and try and rerun this code. Are you getting to see there is a problem here, team? What is the problem? I enter $123 correct credentials. It is asking me to enter again. If I enter it first time, why should it ask me to do it again? It is up to 3, correct? It is not every time 3 attempts. So we need to use some kind of a better concept for a team. And that is where I think we can use a while else loop. Okay, let me explain to you while loop, what it works as. So this is our Java banks. I'll continue with our programs out here team. So I'm going to say this is right click new J09 underscore while loop. It's an awesome concept team. Okay. All it says is, and when I'll talk about Boolean right now, it'll become even more clearer. I don't want to introduce too many things up early because it can confuse you. I want you to stay with the strong foundation. I saw a question. Let me come back on this team. Let me discuss while loop and come back. Okay, what are we trying to do here? So the most important crux is that I have a for loop and I know exactly where my for loop starts and I know exactly where it will end. Okay, and that's good for me. Okay, so there's a good control for me. I can do it a certain number of times. But what if I don't know when I should stop? Okay, print plus I, and this is one of the simplest programs. Just right click and say run as Java application. It'll print all the 100 numbers that way. Okay, now the difference in a while loop, I'll write it here. So team, please note that the notes are split for us half as Google documents, but a lot as code. So the way while loop works is we do not know how many times we need to loop. It is based on a certain criteria. Okay, so let's look at this. Ting, 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 ting. All that the while requires is a statement, and let us use a new variable here called j is less than 10, for example, and I print this. Okay, now I'm saying while j is less than 10, I didn't even define j, so I'll say int j equals starting from 1. Okay, now what will it print here, everyone? Can you tell me? Forget the for loop for us right now. Let's focus on the while loop. How many lines of what will it print? Will it print 1 to less than or equal to 1 to 10? Yes or no? No, it'll just print j is 1 infinitely, I guess. Do you see that? It is constantly printing without a stop. The reason is the value of j in this is never increasing. My while loop should have a way where I say this condition is going to change. And that is when you can come out of the loop. So if I say that j is less than or equal to 10, now this is exactly almost, let's put it as 100, exactly almost similar to this for loop. Let's run this. I'm sorry. So the most important thing is the criteria must change inside the loop, else it will go for infinite. All right. Simple examples. Let us say I say that there is string my day. Okay. And not string my day. So same thing. Oh, I'm sorry. 1 second, team. I need to pause, break. All right. I'm sorry. I'm back. So here I'm trying to put a day. And here I'll just say 1 is basically Monday. 2 is Tuesday, blah, blah, blah. And 7 is Sunday. Now I can put a while loop and say while my day is uh, uh, greater than 5. Then I will print so sorry, no, this will be days will keep increasing. I'll say my day is less than 5. I'll say it's a weekday. I'm sorry. And now what that means, team, is while this keeps happening less than or equal to 5, it can continue to work and print this. But I have to change my day every time and say that each day I'm going to add 1 day into it and it will increment. So that value itself will change. So for the first 5 times, it will say it's a weekday. And after that, it will stop saying it. So while decides when you can come out, you don't know when it might happen. Let us say my day was already at 4. I'm not starting with 3. So I don't have to run it 5 times. When I execute it, maybe it will come in the second time only. There you go. So your condition itself can be very strongly linked, team, to where it starts from to where it will go and end. Okay. Let's talk about this within our application here. So for loop is a bad idea because if I'm logged in, then I don't need to log in again. So how do I replace this with a while loop? I'll say integer my tries. Okay, how many tries I'm left with? Starts with 3 tries, everyone. Okay, then I'll say while my tries is greater than 0 this time. If it is greater than 0, I have not extinguished all my tries. And hence, let's remove this for loop. It will come here now. So team, don't worry too much on this code. It will get even clearer when I introduce functions and methods to you shortly. And everything is here. This is the while loop. Now look at it. Look at the difference, team. So here, I'm basically saying my tries is greater than 0. And I have to increase my tries here each time, or rather decrease it by 1. So each time I'm decreasing my number of tries. Start with 3. If I've come till here, then I'll decrease it. Now will it work, team? See, let's see. Again, team, it is never, we can never be very sure about certain things. So if I write A is A, 123, $123, correct information, but it's again asking me to enter. So it basically didn't change anything much for us. The only time it'll change is Let us say I'll put a small flag here. String login equals starting with no. Login starts with logged in, rather, if that is even more easier for us to understand. Logged in is no. Now, only when I enter correct details, I'll say logged in equals yes. Done. Did you notice earlier in the version 1, we combined two conditions, checking username and checking user password. We're going to do the same thing here now. Do I have enough tries? And logged in is not equal to, okay. Okay, so I'll say logged in equals yes. So that is my condition, but I'll put an ampersand to it. Now look at the logic, team. I know it's a little maybe confusing, but just the logic, and that's why we made it into different versions and slowly taking that step one by one. Logic once again, my username and password have to be correct. Where am I checking that? Which line number am I checking if username and password are right? That's correct. Everyone, be active. I ask a question. You need to quickly write it down onto the chat, please. Which line number are we checking if the username and password are correct, which the user enters? Line number 31. That is correct, team. That is where we are checking if that is right or not. Now, I'm checking this after I take the username and password from the keyboard. Now, I'm going to repeat that up to 3 times. As long as, so if I have more tries, I'll repeat up to 3, or logged in equals yes. So if it has come all the way and we have finished the number of tries, we can always print at the end, and I'll talk about that we have finished the number of tries. Where do I print it? If my tries equals 3, while loop is done. If my tries dot equals, sorry, equals 3, and what's the other one? Logged in equals dot equals no, I will print you have entered incorrect details 3 times. So see the way I'm structuring it, look at it, team. Okay, these values will be there, right, in the program. Trying to get this guy down. Okay, where does my while loop end, everyone? Can you tell me this? Very, very important question. Where does my while loop end? Which line number? Where does my while loop end? And while loop is beginning on line 19. If you're not sure, always click on that braces. So if I selected this if brace, it will show me the corresponding close in one. If I select this, it will show me the corresponding open one. The same with while loop. I click here, it will show me line 38. So while loop is ending here. So here, welcome or reject. That's all we're gonna do. So if they've finished all the 3 tries, and my tries will actually be 0. Sorry, team. Equals 0. You entered incorrect details 3 times. Else, welcome to javaBank. How can we assist you? All right. See how the code is now slowly getting into more of structured program, team. And that is the reason right naming conventions, which are easy to understand, giving enough spacings wherever you think you're a little confused, clearly writing things down. Very important for us, team. Then, it's easy to go from there on. Now, we do not know if this code works, yes or no. Let us try this code. If there's an error that happens, we'll have to debug it. Let us try to execute this. Okay, so there are, how many times should I try this code before I know it works good or not, team? One time is enough if I try the code with one credentials? No, I think we need to give at least 3 to 4, right? 3 to 4 attempts. So let's see. So the first attempt, I'll give right details. Correct credentials, welcome to javaBank. How can we assist you? That is right. Next, I will say B, 123 dollar. Oh, no, 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 sorry. Something happened. Okay. B, 123 dollar. Incorrect credentials. C, 123. Again, last try. A, blah, 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 blah. Incorrect credentials. You've entered incorrect details 3 times and you're logged out. Perfect. So that works also. Let me try one more scenario now. Ting, 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 ting. Enter username. Okay. 1, 1, 2, 2, A, 123 dollar. Perfect. Looks good, team. Any questions on what we did so far in today's session or in anything that we did so far in the previous sessions before I can take you to the next one? So we could successfully do the login part and see it's a decent sized 30 odd lines of code, but seems to be working neatly. Now, I don't see any questions coming. Let's talk about what we can do next. So let's talk about add balance, team. So I'm going to create version 3. And for this, you will see the complexity that get created and an immediate need to do something different. So version 3. Here, the main intent, so this is done. Now add balance. This is version 3. Everything remains same. I'm going to create a integer, but team, sometimes you may not have round numbers. You may also have pennies and paisa, right, within your currency. Integer holds a perfect number, team, but a double is the one that can hold even decimals. So 6543.21. That's a value that I'm going to put. What is the name? My balance equals. Okay. Now, after the user has logged in, see, that means out here. No, not here. Sorry. Out here. I can then say tick 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 tick. I'm thinking of a logic. What am I trying to do? There's already some money. I want to add balance. Okay. And here I'm going to set the whole code, but I don't want to do it right away. So I have to do it in here. So here, again, I want to take input from the user as to amount of balance. So it'll get a little into those things team. Now, old balance, and then there is deposit, and then there'll be a new balance. So primarily again, copying this. And this time, this is scanner my keyboard. Okay. I'm defining it outside team so that it's accessible for everything inside. Okay, my keyboard. Double, I already have. What did I create? Add balance. My balance equals enter how much to deposit, and that will become add balance. My keyboard dot next. Now, is there a next double here, team? See, next is basically trying to say if you want to get a string out of it, or you want to get a byte or a integer is there if you scroll below and so on. We are interested in double team because my balance may be in double, and this add balance is also important here. So I'll just capture the value, and my balance equals the old balance plus add balance, and so cut this first. I'll do this. Old balance was, new balance we will now say new balance is. All right. So now let's see how this works, team, everyone. Version 3. Version 3. Okay. So I'm going to enter the right details because we're now trying to check the new functionality. $123. How much to deposit? I'll say 75.45. And old balance was so and so, new balance is this. Now, if I rerun this program, what will be my old balance when I rerun it? Will it be 6,500 or 6,600 odd? It will be 6,500, team. Let me explain to you why. When you run a Java program, these variables are getting created on this line 14, some memory with values put here on 15, 16, 17, and so on, and they're being used wherever. Okay, these variables, whatever memory we create slowly, remember I was telling you, and each one will have, so this is add balance, this is my balance, and so on. Okay, when we come to the end of the execution, all this memory will get released, and when we begin again, It will start at the very first point unless you take this data and put it into an external data source, what we call as a database. So an external database or any other like an Excel sheet or notepad, if you're saving it in a file somewhere else, then that is fine. Otherwise, it will not stay with the program. So every time you run, it's going to do the same thing because it is not going into a central and we're just simulating. So we're fine with it. $123. How much do you want to deposit? 100. Now see. So 65, 43, 21, 66, 43, 21. That becomes your new balance. Now, all of this is good, team. You know what the way we're progressing and how we're doing. But one of the biggest disadvantage is our code is getting very long and slowly maybe humanly complex. So when we look back to review this code and we've just finished only the first two points of our functionality, you would notice that there's so much that we still have to do and we could not. So that becomes very critical for us, that we need to know how we can organize our code better and use a lot of efficiency in it. For that, let us talk about functions in Java and how they work in the next session. I can introduce it today to you, team, if you would want. Should we start with the basics of functions, understand what they and how they work, and then maybe put it into the need tomorrow? Okay, so give me about 15 minutes. I'll kind of walk you through the functions. What's your question, SV? Um, Siso, what's your question there? Okay, let me read this question. How do you go from syso to system.out.println? Because I keep having to type it out again. It's hard. Yes, sure. So I'm sorry if I didn't show you the shortcut. So if I want to type, let me create this functions j10, j10 functions, have a main method and finish. So what I do is write syso, syso, then control spacebar. Control and then spacebar, please. Try that. Let me know should work. All right, team. So when we talk about functions, it's a very simple thing that is we need to understand. So this is javaBank 2. Control N. Okay. If you remember even the first program that we were doing, if my program is here, we were getting it some inputs like integers or in this current case, a username password, and it was able to do some process and give us information back. So this whole concept of input output is what becomes very, very critical with computer systems. And programming languages, their most important aspect is to fluently go through them and get us what we need. Okay, so what does it mean? Let us say, for example, you how do I say it? I want to write it, but I also want to say something about it before I write the code on it. Say, let us say you go to a restaurant, okay? And in that restaurant, you basically know there is a good chef and the chef can cook. So what you give the chef becomes your requirement or input, correct? You will say that maybe you want noodles, spicy, vegan, and so on. Or you may say you want a rice with, something else and so on. That becomes input. And the chef is primarily looking at that and processing the whole thing and giving you the food back in a plate that you can nicely consume. So this process is constantly repeated by a chef. Okay. And now if another chef comes in, how does he or she maintain the same quality? They kind of go through a certain recipe in a restaurant. And for them, it is very critical that good or average, whatever be it, they need to standardize their taste. So when it comes to doing things repeatedly, we will use a concept called functions team. Um, what it all means is you want to give an instruction through which you will get an output. Another example could be like a currency converter. Okay. Let us say you want to say seven. Okay. How much is $7,000 in Australian dollars, for example? And that becomes important. Every time you don't need to go use certain thing. You'll go to a weather.com or xe.com to find those converters and do those jobs. Internally, they use or they built on the concepts of functions. Now, there are three types of functions, everyone. Okay. The first function, F1, I will call, just does certain steps. What do I mean? If I want certain steps to be printed, like I'll say public void F1. So this is F1. Just some extra styling to it at the beginning and the end. Now, please note that main out here looks like this, and our code for the function is written outside the main method. So this is the starting of the main method or function, and this is the ending. And here are my custom functions that I'm writing, and this is the ending. Both of them are under the main class called j10 underscore functions. But every Java program must have a main method. In this case, I also created F1. Now, how many lines will get printed when I run this code, everyone? Quickly, how many lines will get printed when I run this code? I'm getting answers like 3, 4, 2, none, 4, 1, 2, 3, 2 or 3 or 4 or 1 or none. What team? Why so much variation in your answers, everyone? 4 or 3? Nah, nah, nothing. You'll get only one statement, which is the start of functions. Why? Anything else got printed? Where is this? This is F1. Unless you call a function by its name, it will not do anything. Unless you go to a restaurant and tell the chef or pick up the phone and order and say, I want this dish, your order is not placed. You will not get your food. So what do I mean by saying call this function? In the main method, I have to say F1 open brackets, close brackets. That's it. And this is actually calling from static. I have not yet come to explaining to you what is public static, void team. Void we will now understand, but all these other names we will be slowly getting into. Now what happens is it is making a call to F1. Now if I run, how many lines will get executed? 4 lines. That is correct, team. because I'm calling that function F1. How does it happen? Put a breakpoint on line 8. This is a name, very short name I gave. This is where it is declared. And whenever it comes here, it goes automatically, tries to execute whatever is given in this. So if I do a debug run now with a breakpoint, I don't switch the perspective, I'll keep it standard. All I'll do is, let's do a step into, where is it? Here. And did you notice from line 8, it has come out here. So now look at this. Now, is it an issue? How many lines then will get printed at this point? I'm calling this function 2 times. How many lines will get called at this point? Don't make a mistake, team. Think. Everyone, be alert if you're able to answer these questions as I'm addressing the session, or you're watching the videos, you are following up. 4 lines is incorrect, guys. 8 is incorrect. This is 1 line. F1 will print 3 times. F1 will print 3 times. 1 plus 3 plus 3. 7 lines. There we go. All right. So you can primarily create come on, once, call when and where needed. That's a great point, team. So it helps me to do certain amount of code cleaning. But now there's certain more things it can do. Like what? Let us say I want to create another function. My add. And this function is supposed to add two numbers. So when I call this function, public static void is because it's not returning anything. It will try and add two numbers. So I will say int z equals for n1 first number plus n2 second number. Are you all with me, team? This is F1, one function done. I created it. I'll keep it aside. Now I'm creating another function called myAdd. How do I call myAdd? I'll say myAdd like this. That's it. The name separated by the brackets. But the problem is, how do I get sys control space total is plus z? How do I pass this values for n1 and n2 into this function? Just by simply saying this is a number 1 here, this is n2 here, and these are the two numbers that I'm passing. And when you're calling them, you give those values. I'm sorry, team. Now, look at this. First time I'm calling, I'm saying 10 and 20. The next time I'm calling 300 and 2000. So that is what it should do. That is all that matters, team, for it. If you're not giving any input variables, no problem. Keep it blank. If you have input variables like this inside a function, that means you need to send that when calling that function. So it needs two variables, correct, everyone? So if I say my add and then just say 100 in this, it will give me an error saying that it requires two arguments. You only gave one argument into it. Or if I say 100 comma 200 as a string, again it's a problem because you have to send an integer and not a string. So these are the very disciplined structure that it follows. what you want, how you want, you say that, and you can pass the values. So there's the function one where just does certain steps, and this is function two, which can take input and based on which perform actions. And then there is function three. Can do above both plus return values from it. Now look at this beautiful function three, team. Let us run this my math first, everyone. So you'll get this. Only two functions created, f1 and my add. We can call this as f2 also. That is fine, team. Okay, however you want to put. But make sure if you're changing it, change it everywhere. Saved. Let's run just to check. Okay, this is f1, add two numbers, total is 30, then 2300. So this is correct. And if you want to check that, if it's valid or not, repeat it. F2 and 100, 200 with right details should work. If we give incorrect, it may not take, team. So that is why watch the warnings, especially the syntax errors. So it will tell us Eclipse if we are giving right content or not. So that is function two. Understood, everyone? Now comes my pretty function three. Public static void f3. And here, let's say int x, int y. And this function returns the greater among the two numbers. So how do I do it? If x less than y, then I will say return y, else return x. Okay, I'm not looking at that less than or equal to combination, team. So now look at this. This function is taking two inputs. It is comparing them and it will return one of the values, whichever is greater. So this is no longer void. It returns an integer because either y or x both are integers. That means if I write syso and put f3 and here say 10, 20, it will basically print the greater of these two numbers. Why? That is the value that is coming, or I can say int my temp number equals f3 199. Okay. Now it is going to take the greater of these two numbers. So my temp. Now see. Let's run from line 13, team, or line 15, please. Right click, toggle breakpoint. I don't want on line 8. Disable breakpoint and do a debug run. Oops, I did a regular run. In regular run, it's not going to wait for us. Debug run. This icon you see, and I'm not going to switch the perspective. Keep the regular one. I think we can manage with it. Okay, so where are we? We hit the breakpoint here, team. Now it is going to come inside F2. All right, team. See, like I said, 100 will go into N1, 200 will come into N2. This is function type 2. It is still not returning anything, hence void, like empty, no return, null. That is what it means. Step into, where are you? Here. And now let's take our mouse over N1. You see N1 is 100, N2 will be 200. That's the values that have come. And now it can execute the steps based on those values. Okay. And that's F2. Now let's go to F3 team. See, the difference between F2 and F3 is nothing but this will only do certain activity. F3 will do certain activity and it can also give a value back. And that I can use with whatever I want. Here I'm just printing, here I'm just printing, here I'm taking it into a temporary variable and then printing. So that's fine. So I'll keep using this step over team. So it will not go deep into these methods. So now, but it will not go into the functions also. That's the problem. Step into, now see, X will have 10, Y has 20. So if X is less than Y, that is correct. Return Y. So let's see. Step into return Y. So at this point, it will print that value team, whichever is greater. And that would be 20 again, I guess. Yeah. And in this case, it's going to try and do the same activity. Let us do a step into. So I can go into the function. Now, X is 100, Y is 99. So it should kind of return X for us. And it returns there. Now at this point, let's take our mouse over my temp. There's no value yet into it. So I'll just say step over the step. Now take your mouse over. There you go. See? So F3, wherever you used it, it will also capture values back. That's it. Those three types of functions. F1 just executes certain steps. F2 takes inputs. So based on what you send as an input, it'll do certain thing. F3 is gives outputs too for us to use further. Now, whatever we did in these functions, we're gonna now come back and repeat it for our banking application. So we'll talk about how easy it will be to log in. So instead of writing all this big program, I will have a simple one here tomorrow called public static void my login. Actually, it will return something which I'll tell you. See, my login, and I'll say this is string f username, like function variable username, string f password. If they send these two and I'm satisfied with it, check for rightness, then we will return login is a pass. That is what this function will do tomorrow. And our code will look so simple from their team. And then we're going to create another method for check balance, add balance, transfer balance, and so on. All right. So with that, we can learn a few more things as concepts, and adding to our repository will also do our project. Questions, anyone? And that's about the session for today. We'll meet again tomorrow. I'm assuming there are no questions. I don't see any hands raised. And I do have a couple of poll questions, team, just around your practice, if you don't mind. Let me see how that is going at your end. How is practice? And team, I don't need to necessarily look at so you can be very discreet, give your honest answers. It's important. How is practice, everyone? Didn't start at all or very little? You're making good progress, or you're covering most of the topics that we have done so far? Can I get everyone to finish the poll quickly, please? Will not take more than 3-4 seconds. I have 2 more polls after that. I've got about 50% votes in. 65-70% votes. I'm going to close the poll in 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and the poll is getting closed now. Any last goers? Nope. And share. So I'm pretty happy, team. Didn't start at all is only 12%, which is a smaller percentage of people. Please get up. I want you all to get towards covered till session so far. So almost 35, 50 plus 24, about 56, 57, 59% team are making good progress. But please get going on that. It's important. Next poll. I think I was talking about the speed of the sessions. As we are going into the new sessions, I wanted to check on the speed. I tend to speak quickly, my English, but again, I try and focus a lot on voice modulation too. If I can get everyone to please finish your polls there, I can share it across. Okay, I'm going to close the poll in 3, 2, 1, and close. All right, there we go. Share. So about 32% are saying too fast. I will try a little to slow down, team. But for those of you who really feel I'm going too fast, I would please request you to go through the video sessions once again. And that will enlighten you. And while you're practicing especially, okay, try and achieve that. Next one, let's see. Last one, team. This is about the live class timing. I've listened to you guys and changed it. Is the timing good? Is it important that we start early or a little later because people are joining from different countries? Or it's not a good time? If it's not a good time, you wouldn't be here. But if in case you're here but unable to, let us know. Can I get everyone to finish this last poll? Then we are good to close the session. 70%, 75%. Okay, I'm closing the poll in 3, 2, 1. Close. Share. So team, over 70% feel it's good. The remaining a little bit here and there, but the majority are good. So I think we'll stay with it. We'll try and go through our topics neatly. What else did I have? This is one question I wanted to ask, team, about your math skills, because there's a lot we can do in the programming that's got little math involved into it. Not complex, but numbers. I mean, I personally love math. That was not the reason I chose computer programming, but I like maths. I got 52% votes in. Can I get everyone to vote in the last one for the day? 70%. All right, I've got about almost 80%. I'm closing the poll in 3, 2, 1, and poll close and share. So that's really good to know, team. Decent in math. Most of you can manage a little. The remaining 11%, no one is it in there in the hate it or very boring. All right, great. Thank you so much for your participation. Give me a second. If we add more than 2 forward slashes for comment, what will happen? Good question. Did you try it yourself, Varsha? What will happen? Did you try? And I want you all to try as well, team. See, 2 slashes, anything you put after that, it doesn't matter for it. It'll still take it as is. Okay. try a lot of things, try these. But to be successful, your code has to be well organized and simple. That is when you can keep increasing to next levels. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Talk to you later. Bye then. Bye now.